What's up, everybody? Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Getting better at that. Not great. Today, we're talking junk with Accelerated Waste Solutions. Coming up next. Double founders, double the fun. Wasn't there a commercial like Double McGum? We're right there. Whoever wants to go first, I always start off. I mean, maybe Fred, you were first one in today. You can go first. What's your franchise story? How did you accidentally fall into this crazy business?
Man, I would tell you to go grab a cup of coffee and I can sit you down for a while, but I'll give you the abbreviated version. It looks like you're ready, but I'll give you the quick and dirty, so to speak, since we are in the junk removal business. But that said, just to give you some introduction, I'm Fred Tomlin, CEO and co-founder of Accelerated Waste Solutions, home of the famous Junk Shot app, the nation's only junk removal app in the country. But to give you our kind of founding, that's not where we started. We're currently in a franchise network of 30 territories with about 24, I believe, franchisees right now. And we just started franchising, opening our first franchise in 2021.
That's great.
So the Destiny's been a pretty aggressive ride, but it didn't start there. Like I stated, we actually opened our doors in 2008 with the understanding that we were going to be in a totally different line of business. To give you some further background on me, I'm an 8-year U.S. Army veteran. I've got a 4-year degree from the University of South Florida in marketing and advertising. And when I first graduated college, I went to hang my hat over where you're supposed to go when you have a marketing degree, and that was New York. I went to go work for a few ad agencies up there, but didn't like the weather so much in the Northeast. Ran back down to Florida. As you can tell, I'm a Florida boy. This is where we're founded, where we're based out of, inside of sunny Tampa, Florida. But ended up being recruited for a B2B outside sales organization, and had some bit of success there. It's where I met this top of the board sales leader in the way of Sherrod. He was recruited by my past manager. He was working in the hospitality field in terms of restaurants, and she found him to be as alluring and to be as a great salesperson as we know him to be. And she brought him on board our team, and of course she was right. But in that relationship of me and Sherrod kind of gravitating toward each other in that sales field, we found that we were selling advertising to business owners who were honestly having a lot different day-to-day than ourselves. And we honestly got envious of their lifestyle. I started to try to plan my great escape out of corporate America because most of my clients were busy fishing and golfing and hated meeting with the ad guy. And again, I wanted to take on some of that activity in my lifestyle. But that said, I was sharing some of these ambitions with Sherrod, and he too was getting that itch of planning his escape out of corporate America as well. And he shared with me about a trash can that ended up at his luxury apartment doorstep, and how it was not only changing his life, but also changing his rent. And, and that change in his rent, though, was the piece that really had a light bulb go off in his head. I thought you were going to have a question for me, Nick. That's why I thought.
No, I thought that was like the alley-oop to Sherrod to say, now it's my turn.
It kind of is. He can tell a way better story about that trash can at his doorstep. But let me kick it off to him. He'll should give you enlightenment. We started with that one thought process about that can, but it then turned into 20,000 that we placed across the United States in over a course of a decade. We've since went on to have those trash cans placed by our franchisees, but Sherrod will give you some deeper background on it and how that eventually turned into the Junk Shot app.
Thank you, Fred. Nick, a good friend of mine likes to say, started from the bottom, now we're here. And that's a lot of our story. That trash can.
You said good friend. I think we have follow-up questions on that one too.
Why not? Why not? You'd be surprised who you can rub shoulders with when you start franchising, right?
I love it.
But valet trash, right? Simple concept, taking a problem that's very common at apartment complexes in terms of taking your trash out, right? It's a mundane chore. And when that solution to that problem appeared at my doorstep, it changed my life, Fred's life, and many other. We're on a mission to do the same. So it starts with the pickup truck. Take the trash, put it in the pickup truck, drive it to the local compactor, and that chore is taken care of for you. So I love the fact that it solved that problem. Instead of me putting the trash on my Cadillac and driving to the dumpster, I had a service to do so. And like Fred said, when I went to renew my rent, I found out that they wanted to charge me $30 extra each month for this service.
Interesting.
And so I'm walking away and the light bulb went off. I'm saying, if they can do this to me times 400 other residents, it must be a lucrative service. So at that point, I was like, this is it for me. I'm working with business owners anyway. I appreciated the fact that they took a chance on something that they believed in. And I certainly believed in the win-win solution, to my problems in the way of valet trash. So next thing you know, I partnered with Fred, and a week later, we're Tampa Bay Trash. We have the logos, we have the website, we have the brochures, everything you need to be in business, right? And Fred and I, top of the board sales leaders, who better, right, to partner with and do this valet trash service. But guess what? We failed miserably. It did not work the way we wanted it to work. We realized that it's a very relationship-heavy business where these multi-million-dollar assets really want the companies that they can trust with the right insurance and credentials and things of that nature. So where do you start, right? And so we joined our local apartment association. Fred did that, and I saw an opportunity in the pickup truck that we were going to use if we had a valet trash contract. We started picking up junk. One job led to another. Actually left my job working on the weekends, loading up junk in the truck, and Fred's out there networking at the apartment association. Finally, after a few months, we closed our first deal, and it took us to different cities in the state. And next thing you know, we were able to take that concept nationwide, valet trash and junk removal. So very, very interesting. I'm sure you've heard, Nick, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And that's one of the things that I found out very quickly in the junk removal industry. I became very passionate and involved in being able to donate, give back to the community, and kind of take what people were paying me for to be able to bless other folks. And we really had a great time solving that problem in the junk removal industry and the valet industry. One thing I also realized that the junk removal, there is a problem in terms of being able to set the right expectations for customers. People would call not knowing I was the guy on the phone and doing the job, but they would want to get a price out of me and describe their items. And when I would arrive to the location, it would be way more than what they say. So too many people said, you guys are just like those other guys, even though your service is great. You told me one price on the phone and you came and changed it. And I'm like, well, if I could see it, I would be able to, give you a better expectation. And so kind of communicating that constant problem to Fred. Fred said, you know what, man, there's got to be an app for that. And this was back in 2010, 2011. And I tell you, there was not an app for that. And so that's where the Junk Shot app was birthed. We were set out to make this app where you can download the application, take a photo or video of your junk. Now that we see what it is, we can go ahead and send you a quote without even having to come out first. And so here we are again, about a decade later. The Junk Shot app is the nation's first and only, and it's a patented piece of technology that really sets our franchises, EZs, up for success.
All right. So great opening story. A few things I want to call out a few things that I heard because I think it's important. One, both of you went through the exit of a career, which is exactly something that franchisees have to relate to. They're going to go through this fear moments where you're getting up to the ledge and you have the knee-jerk reaction, and you go backwards, and maybe you dip your toe off the edge and say, let me try to get a business going. But the two of you had to go through that. I think that's super important. Both of you have made pivots in your career. You still have connections back to marketing or sales or everything else, but you stayed connected to it. But it's more so like you can hear the drive in both of your stories. There's a drive there that the widget ended up being irrelevant. Yes, it's junk removal, but you guys found the connectivity, family, which I think connects really well to franchisees. The two of you have built partnership, and very proud, clearly, to put co-founder on both of your title. That's something that eliminates ego. And so I see all this baseline. So you've set this thing up. Where does franchising come into the picture?
Man, it was a journey. Like Sherrod shared, we initially were in about 2015 before we started to get serious about the ideal of franchising. And honestly, we had gotten both lines of our businesses up to millions of dollars per year. And we were kind of hot stuff, at least to ourselves, in terms of the growth of our business. And we felt that was a good air mark to be able to share not only the wins that we had, but also some of the lessons that we had learned over to a franchise partner. So we started to do what a lot of franchise companies do, and we started to seek out franchise development companies that could help take our passion into a transition for a franchise partnership. And in that journey, we found some people we liked. We found some people we didn't like. Most tried to purchase our company at the time. They understood the type of value that we were offering for a franchise system and wanted to meet us at the pioneering phase of that. But more importantly, who we met was a gentleman by the name of Gary Finley, who's the past CEO of Restoration One and several other brands. And Gary came out initially and kicked the tires on our business, and in true Gary Finley fashion, kind of pointed out all the things that we were doing wrong as a franchise organization. He congratulated us on building a very boutique business for myself and Sherrod, and that was to be commended. But franchisees are going to need more than just your experience. They're going to need a support system. Your managers are going to need managers, and they're going to need business coaches to take them through some of the phases that you've kind of got the resiliency, the self-resiliency for, but your franchisees are going to need some more support than what we can hope that they'll have for that internal fortitude. And so he left us with a laundry list of things to improve upon our business in terms of making it more franchise ready. And we invited him back out, and lo and behold, we had kind of accomplished that list and more. And again, he kind of commended us that most franchisees, like you said, lack the humility to take on that type of advice and advisory. And Gary Finley, for your listeners who don't know, also was one of the pioneering founders or CEO inside of a brand called Curve Fitness, and took them from about 40 locations to, I believe, about 8,000 worldwide. So an amazing brand expansion. And so you had to respect it and take some advisory from him, and we did. And it allowed him to point us in the right direction. It gave him the nod that we were serious about what we were trying to do and how we were trying to impact franchisees' lives. And so that gave him the confidence and the trust to be able to introduce us to other franchise broker networks, as well as other partners in the industry that we've since brought on, like a gentleman by the name of Todd Leonard, who's our vice president of franchise development, and a host of other senior staffers that help us get to where I talked about previously in terms of our franchise network.
Go back to the day before you decide franchising. Did you understand what it was?
I mean, as much as you could do. Me and Sherrod were, if you could tell, fairly studious. So we went from going to franchise trade shows, actually walking those floors, to finding as much as you can on YouTube. And again, the investigatory that goes into talking to franchise development firms.
Yeah.
But at its core, really, like the average citizen, I thought it was the building blocks like McDonald's, right? You give a franchise owner a business system, and voila, they're gonna be able to take your business and expand it and blow it up. But the more and more we talk to more and more franchisors, as well as even develop consultants that might have been even past franchisees, you find out the need of support from a franchisee and the need for having proper coaching to take them through that roller coaster ride that is business, to know to capitalize on the ups and to make sure you're learning from the challenges.
So I love all that. And here I'm going to put your website up on the screen. This is where, because I have the opportunity to hopefully give some good advice and recommendations to you guys. I think you have it right. The big thing I just heard from you, Fred, was I heard support and business coaching. And then if we look back at how you even get here, it's you guys being entrepreneurial. On your entrepreneurial story, you also talked about failure and recovery. And so whenever I get on a website, because I've always believed this, we don't buy from brands, we buy from people. And so when I look at what is your why you why now, you're so much greater than the message you're saying here. And then we get into here and you're talking about what the business opportunity is, but forget about the business opportunity. You just talked about supporting business owners and helping them figure out how to do this together. So if I bought your business today, I would blow up this website and reposition your story because it's so good, but you're not presenting it to the candidate. The last thing I'll say, and I want your feedback on it. But you go back to that day before you got in franchising, and all of us thought it. Like McDonald's is the easiest thing to relate to when it comes to franchising. We don't really understand what that means, even those that are sophisticated. And so I've always found this interesting that the franchisor almost skips over that step and they go, here's my offering. It's like, well, wait a second. If we're really going to be about support and really going to be about business coaching, then let's educate you what franchising is. And even if that's just taking a simple video and saying this is how much we had to learn. Now all of a sudden you just added a whole nother value to the process, which frankly, I think this is why the franchise consultants have done a really nice job of building it into entire industry, is because they're like, look, you don't know what franchising is. Let us coach you. So as an outsider, the 2 points I want to make is awesome story. Clearly a lot of heart and blood and sweat and tears have gone into this to get it to be positioned as a business. I think you need to almost lift up the ego a little bit, and you need to tell me how you're going to support me as a business owner. That's my 2 cents. Comments on that?
Really good. I thank you for sharing, and thank you for even the support. I think that the last pillar that I would add, and I didn't learn this until we were in franchising, is sacrifice. Yeah. It's almost like having a kid, having a baby, right? You don't realize what you would do for your child until you have that child. And just to take it back to Gary, one of the things that he said was, man, you guys have, all these valet trash contracts across the nation. You might want to think about selling those or offering those to your franchisees to get them jump-started. And I'm like, that's probably the one thing that I was like, I don't know, Gary. That's our income, right? That's our revenue. But when we had that opportunity and we saw how we could, fast forward our franchisees to the red zone, right? Instead of starting from the 20-yard line by having this contract that took us so long to get, it was worth it to see their success. And it was worth it to sacrifice some of my success for the short term to see their success in the long term.
What a brilliant piece of advice. I mean, look, you think about a franchisee, and I talk about this on their onboarding. You go from signing a franchise agreement, immediately thrown back into fear because now you're bleeding cash and you're not getting anything back. And so that mentality in the back of the head of just like, whether they're not failing, but it feels like failure because your degree or your measurement of success is financial. And so now you're saying, well, wait a second. If we give them a lift, you've taken baggage off their shoulders that will allow them to accelerate, which means whatever those next key milestones that they need to get to, they're going to happen faster. If they get to faster, you're going to make the money off royalty. So you're actually going to pick it back up eventually. So tremendous advice. I love that. Any comments on that?
Yes, I mean that's where the power is of having that advisory, right? And having people that have done it before. And we really had to humble ourselves to get that advice. But I'm so thankful that we did, and we would not be here if we didn't have that sacrifice.
So now you guys have a baseline of franchisees. Obviously, things are going well. Talk about the dream over, say, 2024. What does success look like?
Man, I tell you, we look to continue to bring on new franchise partners. We've got training taking place on January, I think, 6th or 7th? 8th. Sorry. 8th, on January 8th, in new headquarters that we're just opening up for 2024. It's about a almost 8,000 square foot building that we'll have for training here inside of Tampa, Florida, right up from one of the major theme parks, Busch Gardens. So we're right up the street from a major thoroughfare. So we're excited about what that means for the local community, but also what it means for the environment we're able to train nationally for all of our franchisees. So it means that we're able to take the lessons learned from our current franchisees and pass that on to candidates so that they can always be improving the success and growth of the network as a whole.
So I want to ask both of you this question to close. Do either of you take the time to pinch yourself and appreciate how far you've come?
Oh man, pinch, punch.
Each other. We do it to each other as well. We remind each other. Sometimes we have to remind each other how far we've come, especially with this new building and this investment into our system. It's like now you can really see, what the work is going towards, and have a place that we can really, bring everybody together and sharpen each other, right? Iron sharpens iron. So yeah, really, really excited. Really excited about 2024 and beyond.
I think that's That's great. I mean, ultimately, like I think as entrepreneurs, we don't stop to smell the roses enough. And part of your story starts at failure, and then it battles through. And I think it's a dark mind to be an entrepreneur, because we will constantly tell each other in our brains that we're not good enough, and that there's a next milestone. But having appreciation for just how far you've come, and obviously you're doing great things, is great. So look, guys, I appreciate you sharing the story with me. I put the website up on the site. Look forward to seeing where the story goes. I have a feeling this is just the beginning. But thanks for sharing some of your story with us.
We should take having us. Thank you for having us, Nick. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Love it. For Fred and Sherrod, I'm Nick. This is another episode of Meet the Zor.